I'm looking good, I'm feeling good, I'm so fly.
All right, guys. So I'm so excited to get going on this week. Today, we are going to be talking all about building habits. Excuse me. So, what we've been working on is really setting the foundation by first identifying our purpose. Because as we learn, you got to have a big why behind what you're doing, and you got to have a way to keep you focused and on track with your purpose. And the way that we're going to be doing that is by using that emotional totem / reminder that we worked with last week. Now, we're going to understand the importance of mindfulness in the aspect of building habits today. We're going to talk about how habits are formed, why they form, and why mindfulness is so important to achieving your fat loss and body shape goals. And this is why I have mindset and mindfulness at the base of the 4M Fit Addicted Fat Loss Pyramid. So, this is something that I see as being the most important thing that you need to have in order to really achieve your fat loss goals. Because like I've talked about before, and if we haven't, we're going to be covering it in the future, a stressed body is a body that does not burn fat. So we need to be making sure that we are doing things that are taking stress off of the system. And also we need to have the right mindset and be very aware of what habits are serving us as well as what habits are not serving us, so that we can actually put ourselves in the position to change those habits and also put ourselves in a position to be able to burn body fat through stress management activities. So let's go ahead and first review. This is what you should be doing, is understanding your purpose very deeply. You may not have a really good understanding of what your purpose is at this point, and that's okay. But I want you to continue to reflect on it all throughout this program. The emotional totem that we developed this past week should keep you focused on your purpose and on your major goals so much that it elicits a motivation response in you. It should be something, a word or a phrase or a song, a mantra that actually charges you up, that fires you up, because it really it stems deep down into your core. It is the whole reason, why you are here right now with me. So in order to make lasting body change, you need to be able to tie everything to that purpose, everything to that legacy that you want to create in this world, okay? And then you also want to visualize your purpose. You want to visualize that scenario that helps you see what you're doing, how you're feeling, and how you're behaving, and when you're carrying out and in line with your purpose. That stuff is so critical, so you really need to constantly continue to be aware of those things and repeat that emotional totem, that emotional reminder to yourself. Like I've said before, I personally have sort of a 5-word totem that I say to myself in the morning, or when I catch myself in a situation that is stressful or just feels like I'm like kind of out of line with the person I'm trying to become. And, some of my words are kindness, integrity, relentless, resilient, and humble. And I want to make sure that I'm acting out on those words, because that is something that I want to make sure that people can see, those qualities in me without me actually having to say them. Okay, so in this week's lecture, we're going to talk about habits, and specifically mindfulness around your habits. Now, the thing about the term mindfulness is a lot of people see it as some woo-woo term, like sitting on top of a mountain and meditating, and it's really not that. Mindfulness is about getting in touch with your inner feelings that you're having and why you're doing the things that you are doing. So in regards to food, when you get hungry, instead of pulling away and being an autopilot, you should go into the hunger and understand it. Know where you are, how it feels in your body, how your head processes it. Know how habits are getting triggered from it. You'll be able to notice that when you get hungry, it's not as bad as you make it out to be. And you'll be able to choose how to respond to different situations, different stressful situations or emotional situations or different environments that usually cause you to eat more. So really, mindfulness is the key to catching and understanding and changing these habits that you may have that aren't serving you. Okay, so let me be clear about this. If you want to change, if you really want to make change in your life, researchers have shown conclusively that mindfulness training is the absolute best way to do it. So if you're going to be successful in this program, if you're going to transform your body by training your brain to behave in a particular way, you cannot do it without learning and practicing mindfulness. So this week is going to be all about mindfulness, and you really have to be willing to put in the work to learn this. So make an agreement with yourself right now to pay attention to this and make it a priority this week and hopefully the rest of your life. So we need to get mindful about habits. The first thing we need to understand is that the brain makes habits for a very specific reason. It likes to conserve energy. Anytime you have to make a decision or make a choice or you're doing some self-editing, anytime you feel guilty or anything that uses energy, research shows that the more self-editing that you do, the more decisions you have to make and engage in, and the faster your willpower battery gets drained. So the brain has this nifty little way to save energy by forming habits, and in particularly like automated decisions that you may be unaware of. The problem is that these auto decisions that your brain is forming to save your energy may not actually be serving you, and they might actually be draining your battery later on and making you less likely to have the self-control that you need in order to like sustain your body shape goals. Okay. So research has shown that self-control and willpower is not something you have or you don't have. It is something that you train for, and it's a skill that you can actually build. So instead of thinking of like self-control as being willpower, I want you to think of it more as skill power. Some people have really small batteries and they find that they can't say no and, to certain foods, to certain, not triggers, but certain delicious foods, and then they, I'm sorry. Okay, there we go. And then they just don't know how to hold themselves back, and they keep slipping back on their diet. Others have very large batteries and are able to control themselves because they have practiced mindfulness throughout their day. Okay, they've practiced being aware of what they're doing, and instead of running around like crazy, going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, they take time to breathe. They take time to pour energy into themselves. They take time to recognize how they're feeling, why they're feeling a certain way. And really, it just really comes down to slowing down, but like slowing down intentionally. People who are able to slow down, to put themselves into a slower pace intentionally, are going to have bigger batteries, going to have bigger willpower, skill power batteries when it comes to controlling themselves around food. So let's talk about these habits and talk about how the brain really forms these habits, okay? Because if you can build good habits, then all of a sudden you will see yourself doing things that used to take a lot of work and a lot of conscious effort, and now they just don't take much effort at all. So like, for example, when you go to a restaurant and instead of ordering sweet tea, you ordered water, or if you're sitting on the couch watching Netflix and you're not munching on crackers, but instead you are munching on a low-calorie vegetable, or maybe you're just not even snacking at all. So these are some things that you should be, you want to be aware of. You want to be in control of, okay? So let's go through this really quickly. Here's how habits work. In your environment, there's something called the habit loop. There will be a trigger or reminder in your environment, something that triggers or reminds the brain to kick in its habit, which results in some type of routine. The brain is doing this whole routine because it's sort of seeking a reward. And the whole trigger and routine creates a craving that perpetuates the habit. So, for example, we're going to stay on this page. So let's take, for example, you get home from work and you come into the door, you turn on the TV, and you find yourself going to the cupboard, pouring a glass of wine, going to the couch, and then munching on chips and wine or whatever snack it is that you're munching on. The reminder is, or the trigger, either one, the reminder is coming home from work and turning on the TV. The routine is pouring the glass of wine and grabbing your snack and munching on it. And the reward is what? That's where mindfulness comes in, because we don't always know what it is. But let's just assume for now it's relaxation from a long day's of work. Okay? So you develop this craving when you go through this cycle over and over and over, because you're constantly trying to seek this reward. And then eventually you just develop a craving where it's just something you enjoy. You look forward to it. You might not even realize it's not serving you as far as you losing weight, or maybe you are realizing that it's not serving you, but you can't stop yourself from doing it. And that's because the brain has this loop on repeat, and it's really difficult to interrupt it. So that's what we're going to be talking about, okay? Because that's where mindfulness comes in. So how do you interrupt the habit loop? Well, you first have to learn that you're in a habit loop, okay? You have to catch the habit loop when it happens. You have to catch the trigger, and you have to be aware of the routine and understand what the reward is that you are particularly after right then. The only way you can do that is by practicing mindfulness, okay? Researchers shown conclusively that people who practice and understand mindfulness are far better at change and have far bigger willpower batteries and are able to make changes much more easily than people who do not practice mindfulness. So I want you to focus and identify this week on what habit loops you have. What are the triggers? What's the routine? And what are the rewards that you are after? And do you have the craving to continuously do it? Okay? And understand that everything we're doing this week is geared for you to notice the trigger. We're going to start off just by noticing the trigger, and not even doing anything about it, except just notice it, okay? And throughout the week, in order for you to start noticing these triggers, you need to start implementing more mindfulness into your day. So make an agreement with yourself right now that you're going to become more aware of, and you're going to start to slow down and become more present in how you feel. You're going to notice how your shirt feels on your shoulders, how your feet feel inside of your shoes, how food smells and tastes, and how you react to food when you put it in your mouth. And once you start to notice these things, then you can interrupt and change the trigger or routine to something that is serving you. And that's what this week is all about, is developing that awareness of the habit loops, so you have an understanding of what it is you're really after, what the reward is, and if that routine is really serving you or not. So there are certain habits that actually have a trickle-down habit effect on other habits. Okay, so these are known as big rock habits, also known as smart habits, but we're going to call them big rock for now. So an example of a big rock habit is sleep. So getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep per night on a regular basis versus not sleeping. Why is this a big rock habit? Because sleep is critical in having the energy to want to get up in the morning, to want to go to the gym, to eat the right things, and it's been shown conclusively in research to reduce cravings. And it also has a big hormonal effect that's associated with fat gain. So sleep is a keystone big rock habit, okay? It affects a lot of different things. It affects a lot of your choices throughout the day. Some other examples are water and movement, such as walking. Okay, those two are big rock habits. The point about these habits is that many people spend their time trying to change habits that make really little difference beyond that actual activity. For example, taking a supplement every day, foregoing coffee every day, or any other habit that you want to change that is not really making a big difference beyond itself. The first thing to begin doing is to switch your focus to the big rock habits, okay? That is really what you want to do, all right? So we want to recognize the habits that are not serving us, and we want to try to make a conscious effort in implementing as many big rock habits as possible. All right, so your action items for this week. In addition to revisiting your purpose and your mindfulness, I want you to take some time right now to make a mental note of the big rock habits that you are already doing and which ones that you need to put into play, okay? So, again, first thing, we need to make sure that you're staying in touch with your purpose. The second thing is I want you to start being more mindful this week, okay? Doing those things of just being present, noticing how your clothes feel, how food tastes, how it smells, being just very slowed down in the brain. And then the third thing is I want you to make mental note of which habits big rock habits you're already doing and which ones you need to be doing, okay? And then making this a part of trying to make a conscious effort of making these big rock habits a part of your daily routine. Okay, so maybe a lot of you guys may already be getting enough sleep. You may already be doing enough water or drinking enough water. But maybe what you really notice that is lagging, and obviously just triage which one you need to work on the most, and only pick one or two of them this week to start implementing into your day, and then just chip away at these things 1 week at a time. All right, guys, so that is it for this week. You got a lot of homework to do. I would start off by taking these mental notes and then starting to make some Post-it notes around your house to remind you of your totem, okay, that ignites your purpose, then being mindful, and then also the habits that you're trying to implement this week. All right, guys, we'll talk to you next time.